Hello, everybody, and welcome back to um, my Tea with Louise, I guess this is, because I have with me a new friend, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, but I'm going to tell you how I found her first, because I have a new assistant, and I've always refused to go on TikTok, mainly because it fries my ADHD brain to have all that noise and movement sometimes, but I'm kind of getting drawn into it now. So it's nothing political for me. It was just too much. And as you all know, I'm always producing content anyway. So it's like more things. But anyway, so I got this new assistant and she mentioned that there was people doing reviews of my book over there on TikTok. So I searched my name and I found Kyla and I really liked her and I liked some of her TikToks. So I messaged her and we've connected and then I invited her to be on here and I feel like I've got a new friend here. I'm like, well, I have. I've got a new friend here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kyla? How can people find you on TikTok and other places, and how long you've been doing astrology, and just a few bits, so they
Hi,
get to.
thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I'm so honored that you found me because obviously I love you because I was talking about your book on TikTok. So, very happy to be here. I am Star Lady Hedge on TikTok. That's also my handle on Instagram and Facebook. That's really where I'm primarily at right now. I also have a small Patreon. Um, but I've been doing astrology professionally, I would say about 4 years, 5 or 4 years is where I felt comfortable calling myself that. Um, I have worked and ran metaphysical shops in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and got linked up with one when I was really young and just would not leave the astrologer alone. And uh, astrology really changed. I've really always had a hard time. And if you can see through my chart, I kind of have like two sides to me, and I always felt like I was fighting those two wolves. Um,
Mm.
and this astrologer, like, just and I'm 14, very young, and like she's just absolute magic. Just immediately calls it out, and it just immediately knows me and validates my feelings and validates where I felt alone and so confused for so long. So that's why I just really started to get into it because I was like, oh, okay, maybe I do have some anger issues in some moments, and and
I'm,
and maybe
I'm laughing.
why. And this is
I'm laughing because how many people have told me you've got anger issues? Maybe it's not
yes,
all. Maybe it's not always an issue either. But anyway, yeah.
right. But I just really just delved in and really, like I said, felt alone, not in the stars. And once I really realized our part in it, I really felt a part of the universe, a part of the cosmic dance. I have a lot of religious trauma as well. So I was really looking, I was really lost, um, you know, and the stars just make a lot of sense and make me feel not alone and connected and a part of this beautiful universe. So,
And
yeah,
I think that's a common story for a lot of us. And I see astrology as really one of the there are others, of course, but for me, it's a really great tool for self-understanding and self-acceptance and being able to realize that you're not a complete alien on this planet because I think a lot of astrologers come into this feeling like aliens, to be quite honest. So,
yeah. I definitely feel the common connection with other astrologers I talk to is we needed to understand or like understand ourselves and know how we move, and uh, I owe it
yeah.
everything because for so long I was so confused. I was like, why am I like this?
And we're both ADHD as well, both neurodivergent. So,
Yeah,
I think also probably a lot of astrologers are, especially astrologers that are kind of more kind of tuned into this chart, less as an empirical exercise, I would say,
right.
And
Yeah,
and this is something I want people to really kind of promote, not promote, tune into more of kind of feeling the planets within you. This has always been my kind of thing. Feel how they work within you, and don't just think this is bad, this is bad, this is good, this is good.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah. So
absolutely.
very quantum. And and of course, we've also got similar interests. We both have colored hair. I'm quite jealous of
Yeah.
kind of range of glasses, though. You'll see them. I wear glasses for sunglasses. I've got prescription sunglasses and stuff for driving, but I can't wear them all
Yeah.
day. Can't wear them all day. So
I can
yeah.
only wear them with the computer. And my thing is the computer lights. I get
Right.
migraines from those. So these are like just blue light glasses, but I have to
Oh,
have them because
yeah.
looking at charts all day, my eyes will start my eyes will start shaking.
Maybe I need blue light glasses because
I highly recommend them.
yeah,
They really have helped me a lot with
yeah,
working on the camera and stuff.
with this brain frazzle as well that we just tend to get. But anyway, we decided we'd do a joint vlog, and I think the main theme of it is going to be the shift of the moon's nodes back into Pisces and Virgo from Aries and Libra, where they currently are. And the shift is really going to start happening during the eclipses this fall. Can't remember the dates now of the eclipses. They are September 18th and October the 2nd. But of course, yes, they happen on a day, but they're part of a bigger cycle. And nodes change signs or go a full cycle round the zodiac every 19 years. But this shift from Aries to Libra is different, in my opinion, and Kyla agrees. And we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about it, I think, in the context of um, the rise of Kamala Harris and Waltz in the Democratic Party because of their charts and their generation and how that's going to be reflected, um, so I'm not even going to apologize. I've had some criticism for going political on my blog, and I'm like, well, personal is the political, really, isn't it? So that's so I am going to share the chart first of all. We might just share the chart, and we might dip in and out of it because I like to point at it because
Yeah.
see, seeing the chart helps me um, process it. But and of course it's all connected. And there's no accident that we are recording this the day after this massive full moon. And I'm going to get that exact from yesterday so I can point at it and show people because and I've talked about it a bit on other videos, but this really is breaking everything open, and it's really kind of focused in the USA a lot because this is the degree of the moon of the USA, and this was the degree of the full moon. But the last full moon was at 29 Capricorn, and that was the day that Biden dropped out, and that was the day the old guard died and the new guard came in. And so we don't have to talk about every bit of this, but it involves multiple grand crosses and T-squares and things, especially when you use the asteroids that I love to bring in.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just so dynamic. And there was so much fear around this. People were
Yeah.
predicting like, mass deaths at the DNC in Chicago. Well, somebody broke down
The
the fence.
last blue supermoon, like all that fear mongering stuff. It's like, Okay.
I know, and all along I've been saying, no, 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 no. It's going to break patterns. It's going to shift everything. So,
Yeah.
so anything you want to say about that moon before we move on? And then I'm just going to take us to those eclipses, and we can then move through to when the nodes change signs. So you say,
Oh, I this I feel this moon was big for me in a lot of ways personally, because I feel like everything's has really connected a lot for me in my mind since the Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Aquarius in 2020,
yep.
and seeing all that. Um, and so for me, with Pluto being retrograde during this, with his in Aquarius, like and before he goes to his last dip, um, just thinking about all the changes that have gone on since that conjunction in 2020, all the things that have happened. And this full moon was really all about, Saturn and Uranus is there. And it really is about breaking free realizations, like
Mhm.
actually, that to me, I feel like that's why I've just been already with the ADHD, but I've just kind of been on a high because I feel like at that Saturn Jupiter conjunction in 2020, I was very much like, okay, like this is going to make a change of the collective. The collective is changing. We are moving towards this consciousness. And to see that and feel that on this full moon was really exciting for me. So
Oh,
that's why I geeked out over this one for sure.
me too. I mean, because we both seem to look at these cycles. So just to show everybody that the Saturn Jupiter conjunction that Kyla's referencing was at zero Aquarius, which is where Pluto is right now. And then you guys know that follow me, and I think Kyla knows that I bring in a lot of the other things. So now Pluto is at that degree and square to Haumea, a newly discovered dwarf planet. I wrote about that, birthing this. I said, this is the aspect of the decade in a way, because this is birth and rebirth and death of the old gone. I kind of,
Yes.
I kind of think Pluto retrograding back into Capricorn after this is just going to mop up.
That's what I feel. I feel like it's gonna be like the end, like wrapping that mess
Yep,
up, wrapping that up,
yeah,
helping
exactly. And
helping bury the things that die.
can't wait. And even though, I think it still does seem a scary time, I keep doing these because I don't feel that overall that the future is scary. I think, of course, there will be some stuff happen along the way. But let's move to the first eclipse, the coming up this fall, because with these two eclipses in September the 18th, we have a full moon lunar partial eclipse, and then we have a new moon solar annular, that's the ring of fire eclipses. That's on October the 2nd at 10 Libra. So we're in this point where eclipses are new or full moons conjunct the moon's nodes. That's what makes them eclipses. And we're in the transition phase before the nodes change signs. So we can look at the eclipse chart first and kind of show you that, so you can see that the north node is still in Aries, um, and the south node still in Libra. But here's the moon in Pisces, conjunct Neptune, and so tight because they're moving towards each other as well. And Neptune will be changing signs next over the next couple of years too. And well, look at this as well. Just look at this. And the patterns again, we've got Mars, square the nodes, Ceres and Pholus still together. I don't know if you use them, but they're square the nodes too. Mars is about to go retrograde too. Oh no, 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 Mars. We'll do that later. That's another pattern. But you know, we can start to see, because we've got squares to the nodes, even if you only count Mars as Mars being the guide for Aries, because I hate the word rule, um, is pushing us towards something different because the square to the nodes is always pretty big.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts just on that being another big shift? There's lots of patterns there. I'm like, well,
I
again.
mean, there's so many to look at. You know, Pluto will be at that 29th degree. So,
Mhm. Yeah,
you
mock.
know, um, like that's um that's the um that's the one that it gets me excited and a little puckered. I'm like, okay, that Pluto being there during that eclipse. But also I just noticed that Chiron, I do a lot of work with Chiron and him being at 22, again, pulling in some Saturn type of, I feel a big push towards action and healing and authority and change. Um,
Mhm. Oh, yeah, huge.
it's just so much.
And 22, of course, is master number. If you want to do the numerology, it's opposing Venus. A big shift in relationships. I also always notice numbers. So we've got Juno, which is kind of sacred partnership in Libra, 13 degrees, number of the god.
13.
There's Cariclo, my favorite grace spinner space holder at 13 Aquarius, uh, kind of holding space for this healing. The centaurs, I really think, came in to bring collective kind of opportunities for healing
Yeah.
for us. Yeah. Then we
The
but we've got
centaur. Yeah.
Pluto and Uranus are pretty much now in their trine, which will continue, but it's a trine. It's an opening trine
Yes.
from the conjunction that began in the 60s when Harris and Waltz were born, when we saw all the civil rights action. And this is, they were together in the 60s. I'm not going to go back, but now Uranus is moving away from Pluto, and
Yeah.
opening trines are real opportunities, I think, for growth and rapid change. Um,
Yeah.
not, I always sound like a Pollyanna, I know, but I tend to look for the possibilities rather than the, um,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I I'm with you. I don't want to live in toxic positivity land, but I definitely look at this as a map and everything is I don't there's a
Move.
way. There's multiple ways, I
Mhm.
definitely would rather look towards the hope and the possibilities rather than the not.
Moving in the right direction. Neptune's still hovering around the last couple of degrees, of course, of Pisces, because Neptune goes back to 27 Pisces and then stations direct. All these three are finishing their time in these signs, earth and water, which I also think has been washing away and eroding, but also sculpting something new. I always like to think of the elements working together, and that's a mini
Yeah.
grand. Oh, and then Hecate's over here too. So my goddess. But it's got tensions again, and I think
Yeah.
this is another Grand Cross, a cardinal Grand Cross. If you, especially, I think Ceres is a really important planet. She was
She's one of my
reclassified.
favorites.
Yeah, yeah, I actually think she's the missing personal planet. If I ever get my book written, I will tell people why, but in detail, probably don't have
I
any.
You have to do that because yes, I have a tattoo of her. Like she's I think she's very important in astrology.
My
Sorry.
neck, my series
Do you have a
necklace.
necklace?
Yes, yeah. One of my clients sent it to me. Yeah, so I always wear
Oh,
it. But
yes.
it's another Grand Cross or Grand Square, which are very dynamic. But this one's in cardinal signs, so this is pushing for change, new beginnings, Aries North Node. So that's that eclipse. And then we're not even gonna really go and look at it, but I just want to show people that we have a second eclipse because they always come in pairs, usually pairs, sometimes there's three. Whoops. And two sets a year. And then we have a lovely new moon eclipse. That's a South Node one, though, leaving something behind, new
Yeah.
relations, partnerships. Fantastic. But it's less tense. But you can clearly see this mini grand trine now with these three that's going to
Yeah.
continue as they all change signs. It's just amazing. So now I'm going to go to the nodes shifting. So this is big picture stuff here we're talking, right? You know, people, we're not going into loads of we just kind of want to show you that the trajectory of the way we're moving is bright, and I've gone too far. No, no, I was right. Okay, so January the 11th next year
Okay.
is when the nodes leave Aries and Libra, where they've been for 19 months, and move back into Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node. Now, the nodes always move backwards for those that don't know that already, through the signs, because they're like another of these invisible clocks. I like to call them kind of these wavicles going in the background. That was a term coined by Mark Jones, actually. I had a chat with him and about nodes because he wrote a great book on the nodes, planetary nodes, and we're like, they're wavy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I love
uh,
that.
I know. And the nodes move around the whole zodiac every 19 years. But this is the first time the North Node is moving back into Pisces and the South Node into Virgo since the royal star, fixed star Regulus, moved into Virgo from our perspective after 2,160 years in Leo. And that's about the time of an age, right? You know, if you look at the ages, I know astrologers love to argue about exact dates. I think they fade in and out, but anyway. So that was November 2011. And after 2011, when Regulus moved into Virgo, we had seven, I think, exact Uranus-Pluto squares, remembering where they're in a trine now. That
Yeah.
caused major disruption, discord. Well, and then we see all the stuff that's really happened since 20 since the end of 2011. And
Yeah.
I think this shift of nodes is hugely important because then these two are going to start moving together. Your thoughts?
Um,
Oh,
I I kind of focus on the nodes. That's where a lot of, if you read with me, that's where I kind of start from, the transits and your personal ones. Um, I am very interested in this nodal change, um,
mhm,
especially because like Saturn and Neptune have been doing a dance, and then they will have a dance together as well. Um,
mhm,
and so and then yeah, the South Node moving into Virgo where Regulus now is, and like the Black Moon Lilith has left there. So
mhm.
like it's so many interesting like things, like lots of opportunities for healing, lots of opportunities to take all the lessons that we've learned and apply them, and for women to rule.
Yeah. Well, or the or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, mostly
Yeah.
women. Yes. You know, women are just, you know, to quote the phrase, not going back. We've had enough. You know, it's like and I don't know if you've noticed because you work a lot with Chiron that Chiron was at 19 Aries, A on the eclipse because it was on your midheaven, right?
Yes.
But also it was at 19 Aries when the nodes moved into Aries and Libra. And it's going to be at 19 again when they move out of Aries and Libra. So again, these centaurs are coming in to heal. Ceres will have moved out of Capricorn to be with Chiron's wife, Chariclo, in Aquarius, the future. Pluto's back in Aquarius for, for, for the next lot of years. I can't remember how many years offhand. Other things I notice a little bit because think of degrees is the sun on that ingress is almost at 22, just a minute off
Just
uh,
almost, yeah,
the 22 Capricorn, where we had the Pluto Saturn conjunction that was Ceres, Mercury, and the Sun as well, right at the start of the pandemic. So I
yeah,
think take that as a good thing, there's a lot there. But most of all, I think the shift, Aries and Libra, what we're going through now is their cardinal signs. So even though the nodes move backwards, it still is new beginnings, taking action, starting new things. And now we're moving into this mutable, adaptability, changeable kind of energy for with the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, still with these with Neptune and Saturn finishing there. And I just see it moving into a time of more compassion, more loving each other, more integration, because mutable signs they are very adaptable and mutable, and we've got a lot to adapt to be quite honest, globally. But also
yeah.
as they Jupiter's still in Gemini, right back there to 12 degrees. I've just noticed it'll be on my moon there. And opposing your Uranus. I hadn't noticed that before.
Yeah.
Oh. And Uranus will be back at 23 degrees. And that's where Venus and Uranus last met exactly at 23
Yes.
for us, which is the discovery degree of Ceres. So we're like, oh my God.
There's so much, but it does very much indicate so much
Oh,
like the wheel is spinning and changing and transforming and continuing these patterns, you know?
yeah, it does. And we talked a little bit before we recorded. We both kind of see Pisces as like amniotic fluid, but it's the time before death and the time before birth. And water, it's really it's the cloud of unknowing, it's release, letting go, but it's also love, compassion, float, creativity. You give us some things about all this Pisces then. I love Pisces, but it's very confusing.
They confuse me, but I do love them. You know, can't
You have,
can't turn down a Pisces moon, you know.
you have some more words that people could take for Pisces?
Um, I like Pisces to me, is the shallow water. It is the nice, it's the little dip, it's the cool, it's the welcoming. This is where, Venus burst out of. Like it's very much um the nice water, but it's I have the nice water, but it is the
Oh,
healing water. It's the healing where we could be free. It's the healing where, you know, uh, and I feel like because what Saturn and Neptune have been doing, a lot of us, yeah, we've been learning lessons. So maybe where Pisces is right now doesn't really resonate in that way for us. I know my Pisces son's friends have not felt like Pisces in a while. Um,
yeah.
uh, but I feel like that's just all leading up to really, having the people, because Pisces again is the land of no boundaries, and spirituality is that too. And I was looking forward to Saturn going into Pisces because I was like, oh, we're gonna the weak is going to get separated from the wheat from the chaff or whatever. Like the people who really have authority, who really understand, are going to rise up, be able to communicate, be able to meet more. and share and in that ways. And so I'm really excited about that because I feel like that's what's been ushering in. I've been noticing a lot more, it's a lot easier to talk about astrology now. So many people are interested in it. A lot of people are finding their own authority or breaking out of, some sort of escapism or delusionment. I'm excited. I'm a
I,
little nervous because it is the health access,
yeah,
but I do feel like it is going to be better. But everything transitions are
everything.
hard,
Yes,
and
every.
everything, yeah,
Mhm,
and like we said earlier, like sometimes for good change, you got to pull that tower card first.
mhm.
But I do ultimately really look forward to more of a Piscean Virgo like connected with the earth mystics, that type of energy. That's what I'm going for. Because Aries and Libra that was hard. Like being authentic and cutting relationships and learning what was just, I'm ready for this kind of drive. I'm worried about how critical I'm going to be with the Virgo eclipses, but other than that,
It feels like when you were talking all those words, I was like, oh, it feels like you're going into a float tank. And I've never been in one, but I was like, oh, it feels a bit like a big sigh. But yes, as Kyla said, rightly so, there is the health aspect. Um, uh, Erin Sullivan, who passed uh, last year, a well-known astrologer. I never forget after the pandemic, she was like, well, Venus is all the V words, the Ven words, like venereal, Venus, veins, spreading, it spreads, and in Pisces it spreads. So, things, if I don't know if monkeypox will spread more or, whatever, but there could be something else. And we've got to be honest about that. But I wouldn't say it definitely will be, but there could be, or we have to learn to protect ourselves because Saturn is still in Pisces
yeah.
against these things. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm hoping it's more like people aren't bucking against people who want to protect themselves, or you know what I mean? Like that, I, you know,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah, that
weird boundary and a weird place to establish authority or to
is
be
it.
mad at people about, I think.
I know it is. Yeah, to say, screw you and your health problems. I'll do what I want. That's more the past energy, I think. This feels more
Yeah.
compassionate,
Well, yeah, because I've
more.
noticed just like Saturn before a retrograde, that's when we really like tend to get hit with those lessons. Then we have the retrograde and it's more so it doesn't feel it is starting to feel um you know like we've understood and uh took in a lot of these lessons from Saturn and Pisces, I feel like.
I think so. Interestingly, which calculation do you use for the nodes? The true or the mean?
um I look at both.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you my nodes, which signs. So I'm intimately connected with these two. My true nodes are zero, Libra, and Aries, and my mean nodes are in Pisces and Virgo.
I can't help
So
but not. I'm like I'm the ADHD person. I look at everything.
I do, but I don't always do it in a reading.
Oh
Because
yeah, no, not in a reading. No.
I want to, I only say that for everybody listening because, don't come to either of us for a reading and expect to be really brain fried even more because we'll go, well, if you're this, you're this, and if you're this, we
Yeah.
tend to
Yeah.
pare, pare it down for the client depending on their astrological knowledge so it doesn't overwhelm. But having being like me at this time, having true nodes at zero, Aries and Libra, and they're the actual osculating nodes if people just want an astrology lessen. They kind of move back and forth more. And the mean nodes doesn't mean they're mean. It just means it's the averaged out calculation. The mean average.
Yeah.
So, this time for me,
I tend to go with the true. I
yeah,
tend when in talking and stuff.
me too. Yeah. But can you imagine how this feels for me on my nodes? Oh, I'm going to be having a reverse nodal return as they shift.
What a bizarro time.
I know. But I always feel I'm taking it for the team, or I feel it so that I can try and tell people what it's like. So, but then after that, after this big shift, of course, then all these planets in Pisces still, and I use Nessus the Centaur as well because Nessus has been in Pisces working with Saturn basically to reveal abuse. And I've seen so many people had, and we see it collectively, of course, but I see so many people who've had revelations about past abuses or memories of intergenerational abuse patterns and toxicity. That's poison as well.
Well, I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of that connection is like why we've seen so much cult stuff come out, like realizations about certain things and actual MLMs actually being cult, like not even churches, but like I think that little pairing was a lot of like there's abuse everywhere,
And
abuse of authority everywhere.
they're not done yet.
Yeah.
Because Saturn and Nessus are both retrograde as we record this, and they're both going to go direct, of course, and Saturn will conjunct Nessus. But then, in fact, I'm just going to move it kind of instead of trying to get all the conjunctions exact, let's just kind of look at um, the trajectory a little bit. So if we move a month ahead, Venus will have passed over Saturn, Nessus, and the North Node, and Neptune, and move on into Aries because she moves faster. But just these two are going to meet before the Neptune being the modern guide for Pisces and the North Node will meet, and then Saturn and Nessus will meet as well, probably a couple of days before that, but I'm not going to get that all exact. That is going to be a big moment. So while you look at the rest of the chart to see if there's anything you want to say, because I'm interested to see what's the kind of closest day that these are all together. I had not looked at this before and I'm kind of mind blown. So,
Yeah. No, I am too.
whoa. Well, it's about February the 6th or 7th that
Yeah.
these meet and these two meet at the same time. Oh my Lord.
And look at the degrees too. Like the numbers, like those are pretty spectacular. February 6th. Okay.
And Mars will be retrograde by then and in a trine
At
too.
the 18th. Yeah. Wow.
Oh my
So
goodness.
do you have any personal feelings about the 18th degree or
Well, I think I always look at the kind of the numbers more, and one in the
yeah.
beginning, eight stability, but then they add up to a nine, which is endings. So, you know, so I think this is going to be another big turning point, to be quite
Yeah.
honest, in so many ways. What
Um
about you?
yeah,
I'm glad.
I'd read that, and I can't remember his name. One of the older astrologers said that the 18th degree was one of the worst degrees. Like he did not. If someone
Oh,
had an 18 degree, it was awful. But it's a Virgo degree, and with a lot of my studies, I see it with a lot of healing. Like
yeah.
he equated it to sickness. He said
Mm.
these people are sick. These people usually have some sort of sickness and usually like take it on physically. But I think it's very interesting that that's a Virgo degree, and definitely opening for You
So
know,
I'm
I just
trying to,
love all the connections and all the stuff.
I'm just going to get that. So that's probably about the closest. So we're still on February the 6th. So afterwards, you can try and remember that astrologer's name. But I don't tend to listen to worst degree things because like
Yeah,
we've already said, everything has both light
I
and
like
shadow.
yeah, I like to look at it and then prove it wrong myself or like figure out why, you know, they
Yeah.
felt that way. I
Or
just
or look at, the fact that bad things could happen, but also there could be good things too. Sometimes that's me as well.
yeah,
Yeah. Amidst the pain, try and
yeah,
see emerging underneath. But I kind of really feel that that is another huge turning point on the nodes. I'm just looking Venus. Well,
yeah,
as these all meet, Venus is at the degree that Saturn and Neptune will meet next year as well. So, oh my lordy lord, that's astounding. Well, we happened upon that degree there, Kyla,
yeah.
and then
Listen,
look at the degree the sun is at on that day too. Ah, to
wow.
18th degrees.
So
So we've got 18, 18,
maybe
18.
that our maiden and Regulus coming through.
Yeah,
To,
I really think so. We are weaving, to speak to Cariclo, who's there with the sun on that day, weaving a new story. I've said it so many times. When we everything's kind of being unraveled. I see it more as an unravel than an absolute collapse. We're what's that spool thing that does, when you do weaving?
yeah,
Yeah, that gets the raw wool and pulls all the threads together, makes it something more coherent. But we're still in the unraveling, I think.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah,
I've been saying that. It definitely feels like we're in a deconstruction. Like all these ideas and thoughts were put on us, and now Saturn is like, but wait a minute, and Neptune also is like there.
mhm,
And so there's a lot of what are our dreams or what are, you know, what do we feel like rather than, you know, what we've been told.
yeah. And then look at on that day as well. Well, Jupiter will have just turned direct pretty much, conjunct the moon,
Wow. Okay.
new beginnings. Everybody mark your cards for February the 6th.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Listen,
big,
I'm taking a picture right now. I'm not gonna forget this.
well,
I gotta look at that more.
I'll save the chart and I'll email it
Okay,
to you.
fantastic.
Hmm. Wow. Well, you see, this, guys, for those watching, is kind of how astrologers see things sometimes. I think you're better off looking at a big picture. Then you suddenly go, holy crap, this is all coming together.
Yeah.
And
That's that's
I,
why I yell at people who like when they ask me astrology questions and they'll just send me like the
oh,
table or the grid from their free site. And I'm like, you really have to look at the circle. I'm not trying to just be a mean old crone, but there's a huge story. There's, you
yeah,
know, and if you understand that circle, you understand that it's multitudes of circles. The next day is a circle, and you know, all that. You might not have anything in the 12th house, but you might have everything opposite in the sixth. That's why you have to have that
right.
whole picture.
And to remember, like you said, it's circles within circles, and as we've already mentioned, activating degrees that were active before, all these things. I can't stand it when people send me a list. I'm like, I can't. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Like,
Sorry.
no.
My ADHD brain cannot compute. So
Yeah.
even if we just move on just weeks, next year is just gonna be kind of off the charts because then Saturn will start to leave Nessus, then we enter Pisces season, of course, but then Ceres. our favorite, moves into Pisces. And look at that Pisces overload as Neptune moves back to that last degree. Saturn and the North Node are moving close together again. That's about when the next lot of eclipses will start, isn't it? Yeah. March 14th is actually
Yep.
the next eclipse. So March the 14th, another big eclipse, and just Sun and Saturn. Oh my goodness. I actually love
That's
that. I actually love that it's making this wedge to
yeah.
Uranus, which will have been retrograde, then turning direct. That's going to be another big turning point, March 14th. There you
Oh,
go.
for sure.
And none of those 18 degree. I'd never heard that about the 18th degree, but I haven't really studied
It's
the degrees
I
that much.
just yeah, it was just it's a older there's I know there's different degree theories and but there's
Yeah.
just and I'll find the name. It's
Mm.
but he said that the worst degrees were the 18th and the 22nd. Uh, and that's why, like in pop culture, like the 22nd degree, a lot of people have tried to reframe as like the serial killer degree. And I've really been trying to be like, that is not it. That's not it, guys. I'm sorry. Uh,
Yeah.
but I try to talk from like my own studies and experience. 22 is correlated with Saturn, and it's usually someone who's gone through a lot. There's a lot of wisdom already. This is somewhat, Prince Harry, his son's at 22 degrees. He's known for his grief, stuff like that. But yeah, there's some pop culture weird stuff about the 18th and 22nd degree. Um, and I like to look into it to look into the other side so I know how to answer those questions when I get them
Yeah.
in a reading because sometimes I'll get and I have got that. I see the 22 degree. Didn't Richard Ramirez have that? What does that mean? And I'm like, okay, okay. Like, let's
Sure.
stay with me here, okay?
And
Um,
we did
and
have,
and I and I have an 18-degree sun, so that's also when I heard that I was like, excuse me,
and we
I
did
am not.
have
I
We did have that big conjunction January the 12th, 2020, 22 degrees, but it also brought positive things eventually. But even in
yeah,
numerology, the 22 master degree is one of the most powerful, or 22 number is a
yeah,
master number. Master numbers come bigger challenges. So
yeah,
a lot of potential, but also challenges. So
yeah,
I can buy that.
absolutely.
Yeah. And but then I noticed the 22 degrees Saturn and it's at
Yeah,
22
I
degrees.
saw that. I had to admit, I was like, hey, all right.
So, we are not done with challenges yet. I just think
Yeah,
we're in the right direction. And these are probably challenging points that we're coming across and looking at right now. But then I noticed that this North Node is at the degree that Neptune last stationed direct at in Pisces this year.
uh-huh.
There's
Oh,
one later. So it's highlighting that's square the galactic center because I look at those sometimes too, because that's on my ascendant and the galactic center at well it's currently at 27 Sagittarius is bringing in all this new information and new beliefs and new truths and things like that. But again, it's not without challenges. But
yeah,
I actually love that it's making this wedge to Uranus. I see Uranus, and the astrologer calls him the benevolent rebel. And even though, when Uranus moved into Aries, the very day we had the big earthquake and the tsunami in Japan, Uranus often brings good revolution as well, or peaceful revolution. It's not always disaster. So you have to look at the whole
yeah,
chart. As Kyla said.
yes, absolutely. I I used to be very scared of Uranus. As studying astrologer, he's hard to predict. He kind of does whatever the fuck he wants to do. Um, but me being a Taurus sun,
Mm.
and how Uranus has gone back and forth over my Taurus sun has given me a different relationship. And I definitely see him as, um, I don't want to say woke up because I know some people are using woke and I don't like that, but like
The
freeing me,
awake,
awakening, realizing who I am, like, things of that nature. But yeah,
like the
he
liberate, like the liberate of your weird or whatever
yes.
your your alien self. Like we started saying, we felt like aliens growing up.
Yeah.
Your is the modern guide to Aquarius. That's kind of very alien territory, really. So one of my
Yes.
one of my daughters, Kyla, has an Aquarius moon exactly conjunct Uranus, and she's quite the alien, but she's a magical creature. But she really, even
I
her
bet.
eyes, they look like, she doesn't come from this planet. She's awesome. She's amazing. So she's not an alien in an awful way. She's ADHD too, of course.
My son's an Aquarius, and he is, I always say he's older than me. Like he's so much smarter and like in so many ways and just knows and but is also just a weird little alien hobgoblin. Like
Oh, yeah,
he's the weirdest.
my daughter always was, I remember she started in elementary school and in her first with her first teachers would just say, how does she know all this stuff? And I don't know, probably The Simpsons. You know, she just retained all this kind of weird information, which is very
Yeah.
Aquarius in you. So,
Oh yeah. My son has like he's correct. Like if he hears me on a TikTok and I am talking about like the physicality or anything, like he'll let me know. Um, he's the one that taught me that more of the planets have rings than Saturn. He's the one that taught me that Uranus is like he knows all that stuff.
yeah.
And when I really started getting into the goddess asteroids, like when that first really opened up for me, I just hear him like singing this song. And one of his favorite shows is on YouTube, and it is this like song where all the dwarf planet sings
Oh,
series and Maki Maki and like yeah.
what?
And
You you have to
I
send
yes, I have to send
that.
it to you. It's his favorite thing because he came up to me and he was like, yeah, that one looks like that one can't be round because it goes so fast. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I look
Yeah.
all this up and he's correct. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's Almea actually. I happen to know that because
Yeah.
she's she spins so fast, so she's egg shaped or cigar shaped, whichever they want to call it. And Cariclo has rings, by the way, as well. So she's
Heracles
so
is the one that I need. That's the next one on my list to understand more.
yeah. Well, I've done interviews with Melanie Reinhardt. They're on my YouTube channel. I would recommend
Okay, I
listening
need
to.
to check that out then. Because I really
Yeah,
love the asteroids. I really do. But there's so much information.
oh, there is. And
There's so much
to
out there.
To add to the confusion, I did actually watch some astronomy type person on YouTube say that the astronomers are rethinking their classifications again because they keep discovering that all these things have rings that they thought was something else, and it's like it's just
Yeah.
but so everything's in flux, if you like. And just one thing while we're on Aquarius, I haven't told you that I have a progressed sun now at 27 Aquarius with this full moon. And my progressed Chiron is at 27 Aquarius. They're about to be exactly conjunct. So there you go.
Wow.
I'm stepping into my alien.
Yes.
I'm going to go and look up the glasses so I could have funky glasses on screen as well, not just in my
Yes.
car. But anyway, oops, let's go back to the transits from there. So into 2025, let's go to the next eclipse and then we'll kind of move on a little bit more. So where are we now? March 21st, 2025. We have one more in Aries where the it's a very partial solar eclipse. So I'm going to dive forward a little bit till September next year when we have a full moon eclipse as well that's only 3 degrees from the nodes, and these all go retrograde again. Neptune's going to nip back into Pisces eventually after that retrograde, but Saturn is at that last degree. Nessus is there. Oh, more big revelations and letting go of the patriarchy, I'm going to call it. But also, you can see
Yeah.
by then, Uranus has dipped into Gemini, and the mini grand trine has moved out of earth and water signs into air and fire. Any thoughts of what?
Ooh,
I know. This 2025, well, this year's changing everything. So is next year.
it is. And I love how you said that because when like those the outer planets or the generational planets, when they do make those big shifts and it's into a different element, like that says a lot. Like if we're moving into air, Pluto's moving into Aquarius and Uranus is going to be in Gemini.
Yeah.
This is one that I'm looking forward to because that's when I think things are going to get real weird. Everyone's talking about Pluto just in Aquarius, but I think Uranus and Gemini over here with Pluto and Aquarius, like
Oh,
we're just but yeah, we're working with air with its which is intellectuality, thinking. We are changing the way we think, how we, and
and
I,
science. Oh, there's going to be so, I think there's going to be amazing discoveries in science with this shift as well.
oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm, I'm convinced we're going to find a source for clean energy, like a real, not the what we've got now,
Yeah,
something really different.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And maybe not right away, but you
yes,
know, I really do think we do. We will. And I've said that for a long time. And I'm not a predictive
yeah.
astrologer, but I somehow seem to be able to feel into some of the bigger shifts. I don't know. So we'll see.
Duh. I've peeked a little at your chart. I know you're the centaur to help heal too.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I think, and I I'm I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping that this eclipse access, especially with Virgo, Regulus being there, the Queen, and Lilith leaving her. I hope that we figure out how to keep ourselves healthy and sustain,
Yes,
and figure out ways to treat the earth and water a lot better.
exactly. Eat the earth, the water, us, because we
Yeah,
each other, because Pisces,
absolutely.
the collective unconscious in many ways too, the cosmic soup of everything. And oh, it's just that eclipse is pretty massive. And I also do love that there's this kite thing going on
I was
here
going
as
to
well.
say that is a beautiful
Oh,
little kite right in the middle.
yeah. And Jupiter is I mean it's only a kite if you use the asteroids, but I can't not use them at the moment because in these bigger shifts I just see them playing their
Oh
part
yeah.
in
Like
huge ways. Yeah.
I think it's like I've been following series and I love how like after Pluto is leaving, like she'll be behind. So it's almost like, and she's doing that and a lot, like she does move pretty fast, but like she's moving after a lot of big shifts and a lot of these big kind of dominant energies. And I feel
Yeah.
like, she's coming in and healing after some reckoning or whatever word you'd like to use. And I love
Oh,
that a lot. So, yeah, no, I'm an asteroid girl too. I want to get a lot better at them. I know the core pretty well, but I want to know them all.
there's so much to learn. There's just so much to learn. And I only tend to include what's speaking to me at the time. And the way I've always worked with these is I discovered Pholus as a centaur, like it literally came into my consciousness the day he was exactly conjunct my Saturn. And that's kind of how my chart seems to work. I was like, oh, of course he's like exactly conjunct Saturn because he's just taken the whole lid off the whole centaur thing. So so I won't go into all my personal charts, but yeah, well, you've seen my chart, yeah. But anyway,
I
so
haven't completely dived in yet because I was like, oh my gosh,
yeah. Well, feel free.
smartness.
Well, my North Node is on the supergalactic center. My Jupiter's on the Great Attractor. My
Yeah.
ascendant is, oh,
Yeah,
it's
your
just
your chart with just the flash, it makes sense that you found Follis when he entered, like he came to you the day was conjunct Saturn. Okay,
exactly.
with your chart, that makes complete sense.
It does. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Because I'm an alien. So there
Yes.
you go. So we'll finish looking at the eclipses because in September of uh, 2025, and if you're watching and we're not confusing you too much, whoever's watching, you can see that the nodes are, approaching the middle of the time. So remember, they're in that sign for 19 months, and then they'll move back into Leo and Aquarius, and that's going to be really interesting, but we'll talk about that another time because we're going too far. So I just kind of wanted to show you that this one, everybody, to show you that this will be at the a new moon eclipse at the last degree of Virgo opposing Saturn. And Saturn is about to leave the building finally at that point. So that's a real ending, I think, and a real
Yeah.
bringing in of the feminine, the more holistic, all of that kind of stuff. So we'll be here
Yeah, because you
forever.
have
So
the sun and moon at that 29th degree, like with the south node, and then opposite that like, yeah.
wow, astounding. I know, love it. So, and another kite, of course, too. So, but this one too, the Pluto Uranus trine that we mentioned at the start, that
Oh
is
yeah.
coming from that conjunction in the 60s that really kind of launched civil rights, that kind of revolution coming up to
Yeah,
some.
and I think that's when AI was invented too. Like,
It is, yeah. And
so
flower power, and I think well, I I wear more flowers these days, shall we say? And then I always think of Miley Cyrus singing "Buy Yourself Flowers." Just how my brain works. So.
absolutely.
So, for the sake of speed, we'll go to the next eclipse, and holy shit, in February of 2026. Okay. So,
Jeez.
I know. February 2026, the nodes will have entered Pisces and Virgo and be back all the way back to 8 degrees, and they'll be finishing up their journey in those signs. We have a new moon eclipse that's one of those that where the nodes and the new moon are in separate signs. So it's but look at this, and this is at the last two signs of the zodiac and the first sign of the zodiac, and that's when Saturn and Neptune are conjunct as well. If you think the future's here now, oh my God.
Yes.
what what could you say about this? This is just like, oh my Lord.
I
Uranus Uranus will be traveling new ground again by then after the the next retrograde. It's just, I'm kind of blown away again.
I'm
So,
really blown away because another pattern I've been on my radar is when Neptune goes into Aries. That's something I've been studying how that has worked. So this eclipse thing, Saturn and him and Aries at the 0 degree,
whoa,
uh, uh, very interesting for me.
isn't it? And I think I don't want to go into it now because I need to find my journal, which I can't remember where it is at the moment. But I've been eyeing a conjunction of Venus, Ceres, and Pluto that's happening on December the 7th this year at 0 Aquarius. I've been watching that for months, and I think that's a point of healing. But I can't remember the date, but there was a conjunction of the three who really, if you think about Venus, Ceres, and Pluto, really it's the Demeter Persephone underworld, losing innocence, all that story. There was one
Yes,
at
absolutely.
there was one at 0 Aries, and it was not long after Uranus discovery. So, I always think this has all been started when Uranus blew out the window of all these new discoveries, really. But there you
Yeah,
go. The alien brain strikes again. And Chiron will be almost conjunct Eris. Oh, that's going to
yes.
make things
That's
so.
one that I'm like, all right.
Well, I like Eris because I think she's a truth teller.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
yeah, and so
It
much
just
for the out.
depends on if you're ready for the truth or not. And like if you've been working towards that healing or not.
Yes, but luckily you and I have, and most people
Yeah.
who listen to this have, I think so. And then this 28-degree Aquarius rings a bell for some reason. Well, it's conjunct the moon, the full moon, but I'm sure there's something else that happened as well. But it's activating the full moon that we're under right now.
Yeah.
That was 27 Aquarius. Oh, good Lord. This is just again, you could just go on and on and on. I actually like that Venus and the North Node together,
Yeah.
even though it's in Pisces could be a little bit, spready virus kind of things as well. But it's also on the North Node, and she's exalted in Pisces. If we want to use those eight,
Yeah.
yeah, and eight's a very a nice number. We're in an 8 year now, so
Yeah.
and bringing stability kind of thing back as well, even though it's mutable. We're adapting to become more
Right.
stable. Yeah. Wow. Oh my good Lord. I'm at the point now, Kyla, because I'm 64, and I'm sure I've got lots of years left, but I'm at the point where I have to live long enough to see all this shake out.
Yeah.
That's why I do all
Yeah.
my yeah, that's why I do all my exercise and stuff. So then we have that second eclipse in early 2026. And then and that's pretty, the patterns are pretty much the same. The new moon eclipse then is really big. And then of course we'll start to move towards the end of that journey of the nodes through Pisces and Virgo in the summer of 2026. Oh, back to hate the way it does that. And then the nodes will just the next day slip back into Aquarius and Leo, and that's going to be a whole new thing because
Yep.
but won't go there. So any last thoughts on all of this bigger picture stuff about where it's going, where it could go? I mean, I just think it's just a time of massive adaptability to the changes we're going through and rising compassion and love, basically. So
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And I feel like you can feel that like starting to rise before this first Pisces eclipse. Like you can, there is, like I said, there's a uh when Saturn first went into Pisces, like all my because I have lots of Pisces friends that are amazing, but they got a little bit more down, a little bit more. not, not feeling, um,
Mm.
feeling like them. So I'm very excited for that before this eclipse is coming. Like we're feeling the love and the empathy and the hope again, like the possibility, the ability to dream is back.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like that was taken away. And
Oh,
I'm really excited about that.
yeah.
And I feel like it's not only that, but it's like we're going to take our dreams more serious. We're really going to dive into what we want and what we need and all those things. So, again, for the most part, I'm really looking forward to it. But transformations are always and shifts are always hard.
Oh, they are, and there will be the resistance, of course, that those that do not want to change. And just to trigger a few more people, I will say that I see the Virgo Pisces energy as socialist, for want of a better word, but healthy socialism, like
Right,
just giving people healthcare, looking after people, taking care, not taking over the means of production, kind of, you know,
right.
they you might want to call it something else, but it's because it's become such a dirty word in this country. But I just see people moving towards caring for others more and
Yeah,
providing for the needy and not saying, well, it's mine, so why should you have some?
right.
That kind
Yeah,
of
I'm hoping with um we're finally figuring, the individuality has been
mm,
so hard. And I know it's interesting because we had the North Node in Aries. So we were kind of shooting for some individuality, but that so we could truly be ourselves and find the people that we could build these things with and understand and do that kind of stuff with. So I'm hoping with Virgo and Pisces, it is definitely more, taking care of others, taking care of the land, taking care of the earth, getting back to the earth, taking care of us as well.
yeah.
I'm really hopeful for all of that. You can see a little bit of it starting. So I really hope we really flourish into that. And I think we will with all the alien and AI and revolution and all that other cool stuff that's coming. So
And then when they go into Aquarius and Leo, that's going to be interesting because
that's,
that'll be the first time the South Node's been in Leo since Regulus moved out of Leo. And I think all the oligarchs will be gone by then, to be honest.
yeah, that there's going to be a nice cleanup when that happens, but also we're going to have Pluto. So like that's going to be, it's going to be a trip.
Oh,
But
it is
yeah,
going to
but
be.
I could talk about all the rabbit holes and all the trips, especially with
Oh,
you forever. So
so I think we'll probably be doing it again if you guys have enjoyed listening to us. And Kyla and I are actually going to meet in October. She's coming to Utah to the OPA Organization for Professional Astrology retreat that's in Park City. I'm actually running a peer group if there's any astrologers out there who would like to be in a peer group. The peer group is there's five of us and we are peers. I just facilitate it and kind of guide and stuff, and I have to partake just as much as the attendees. And it takes you towards OPA certification. You have to have been doing paid readings for at least 6 months. That's really the only requirement. And it can be a bit intimidating at first, but as we discussed before we recorded, I don't think the imposter syndrome ever goes. I think women suffer from it more than men do, to be quite honest, sometimes. But I also
well, I
think
mean,
that
yeah.
as the astrology world was very patriarchal for a while, and
Oh, for sure.
that's changing too.
Yeah, and I love that.
Me too.
But yeah, women forever were always like, "You're loud, don't do this. You've got to kind of hide yourself." So I think imposter syndrome just goes hand in hand, unfortunately, and got to move through it.
But I think if anybody is listening and is interested in coming to Park City, spending a lovely few days in a very beautiful resort with Kyla and I. Come and join my peer group. And Oprah is my favorite astrology org, mainly for the reason that it's very yin, feminine in nature. It's not just women in it. There's, it's that energy of it and very connected. So, okay. So again, before we go, Kyla, remind them of your name on TikTok and
I
everything. So look you up.
just Star Lady Hedge on TikTok. I only have that one account. There's a lot of spoofers. I just have one account, but I'm
She's the
also on
one with
Instagram
the one
and
with lots
Facebook.
of followers. She's the one. It's so funny. I followed her on TikTok, which I'm so new to, and all of her spoof accounts followed me instantly. And I'm like, which one's you? Because in fact,
And I was trying to convince myself that you were a spoof account. I was like, there's no way. There's no way this is the real woman talking to me.
and I'm perfectly normal, and down to earth. So, except that I'm not really because I'm out there in space somewhere. But anyway, till
Yeah, you're
next
kind
time.
of a fun alien, but we love it.
Till next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.